For years, I was creating renders I was genuinely proud of. The materials looked good. The lighting was technically correct. Everything seemed fine. But clients kept coming back with comments I couldn't fully understand. It doesn't feel right. Something's off. Can we try a different angle? At first, I thought it was just personal preference. It wasn't. Those feedbacks sent me down years of obsessive study that lasted for almost 2 years. Here's what I found. One thing nobody really told me when I started learning composition is that it's not about memorizing rules. It's about understanding what those rules are trying to achieve. I learned the rule of thirds. I learned leading lines. I learned all the usual techniques. But even with all of that, I was still making the same mistakes. Because the problem wasn't a lack of techniques. The problem was how I was thinking about composition in the first place. Every mistake in this video came from a belief I held for years. And because I thought those beliefs were correct, I couldn't see what was actually causing the problem. So in this video, I want to share 7 composition mistakes I made that were quietly hurting my renders. More importantly, I'll share the thinking behind each mistake and what I had to change to fix it. We'll start with the obvious ones and gradually move into the deeper stuff. The final one is interesting because I thought it was helping my images. It was actually doing the opposite. I've learned these lessons the hard way. Some of these mistakes even cost me clients. The renders were not bad. They looked right. They just didn't feel right. I used to think that good composition was about checking all the boxes. Rule of thirds? Check. Leading lines? Check. A good balance between the sky and the ground? Check. And yet the images still felt ordinary. It was not bad, just forgettable. Looking back, the problem was that I was following rules without having a reason behind them. Composition isn't really about checking boxes, but directing attention and creating a response. In one word, experience. So now, before I think about any rule, I ask myself a simple question. What am I actually trying to communicate? One of the biggest shifts in my work happened when I stopped trying to show everything. Early on, I treated every render like a presentation board. And in my experience, most clients actually ask for these types of views. Get the whole building in view. Keep everything centered. Make sure nothing gets missed. The images explain the architecture and is important when you want to check every corner of the project. They just didn't make people feel anything. The breakthrough came when I realized that the building isn't always the subject. The fix? You need to find the angle where the building's geometry creates the most tension. It can be a corner, a unique approach, or an interesting light-shadow interplay. These views attracts curiosity and pulls our attention, even if you see less of the building. That's when camera placement started becoming much more intentional. One of the easiest ways to improve a render is to pay more attention to the foreground. I was so focused on the building itself that everything in front of it felt secondary. What I eventually realized is that the foreground isn't just an empty space. It's supposed to be the invitation. Without something in the foreground, the scene can feel distant and disconnected. A good foreground element helps create depth, establishes layers, and naturally pulls the viewer deeper into the scene. It doesn't have to be anything dramatic. It can be a patch of planting, a shadow, or a low wall. Even a small detail can make a scene feel much more immersive. And once the eye has a starting point, the image becomes much easier to explore. More assets without hierarchy make the scene feel crowded and unreadable. I went through a phase of filling every render. I put trees in every corner. I placed as much furniture and accessories as I could in every room. And I filled every street with cars and people. The scenes were technically dense. It might be logical at that time, but visually, they were exhausting. The viewer's eye had nowhere to rest and nothing to focus on. Composition is subtraction as much as it is addition. Every asset you add needs to earn its place. Here's what I learned. For each element in your scene, ask whether it emphasizes the main subject or competes with it. Remove anything that competes. What is left will read stronger. One habit I had for years was having everything centered by default. If the building was symmetrical, the camera had to be too. At least, that's what I thought. The problem was that every image started feeling predictable. Don't get me wrong, symmetry can be beautiful. When the architecture is designed around a strong axis, leaning into that symmetry often makes perfect sense. But when the design doesn't demand it, I usually start exploring off-center compositions. By introducing a little tension, movement, and visual interest into the frame, the images become much more interesting. Before settling on a centered composition, test an off-center alternative. Move the camera around, explore different perspectives, and compare the two. Sometimes the balanced version wins, and sometimes the slightly imperfect one creates a much stronger image. Try this fix and let me know in the comments if this worked out for you. A bad composition doesn't suddenly become a good one because of color grading. It just becomes a better looking version of the same problem. You can crop, sharpen, and add atmosphere, but if the camera angle isn't working, no amount of post-production is going to completely solve it. I know this because I used to spend hours fixing images in post. The better approach is getting the frame right before you hit render. Everything after that becomes much easier. Treat composition as the first decision. Before anything else is set, find the camera position, lock it in, and build everything else around it. This was the hardest mistake for me to fix. The others had technical solutions, but this one was different. It was a perception problem, and a dangerous one. The longer I worked on an image, the more familiar it became. That's when obvious issues start hiding in plain sight. Things I'd normally catch in seconds suddenly felt completely fine. That's why I rely on a few simple habits. First, I take a break. Second, I view the image as a thumbnail. And lastly, I flip it horizontally. The last one sounds strange, but try it once. You'll immediately understand why it works. One thing worth saying is that these are principles, not rules set in stone. Intentionally breaking composition principles is a real technique when you know exactly what you're breaking and why. There's nothing wrong with breaking a principle. In fact, some of the most memorable images do. The important question is whether it was intentional. The goal is to understand them well enough to know when to use them and when to ignore them. Because the difference between a creative choice and a mistake often comes down to intention. Looking back, none of these were really composition problems, at least not at first. They were assumptions I had about what good composition was supposed to look like. Assumptions about framing, about storytelling, about what made a render feel professional. Once I started questioning those assumptions, a lot of the technical stuff became much easier. If you'd like to go deeper, I've linked my ebook, Mastering Composition in Architectural Visualization below. It expands on many of the concepts we covered today and includes practical examples you can apply immediately. Knowing the mistakes is helpful, but avoiding them is even better. That's what the next video is about. We'll look at how to build composition into your workflow before you ever hit render. And before you go, let me know in the comments which mistakes stood out the most. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.